And Dr. Matthew Bunson, the editorial director and vice president of EWTN News. And yes, we are here with EWTN. It's exciting to bring our family into this last day of the Novendialis, of these masses celebrating the life of Pope Francis and in commending his heart and his soul to our Lord. But it is also the third Sunday of Easter. I know that these have been really exciting days, so it's hard to remember that we walked out of Easter straight into this very interesting and complicated season. But a reflection on today's readings is very much merited, especially since we know some people around the world are just waking up.
Love me more than these. We don't really know what the these are. More than the other apostles, more than the fish you've just caught, who knows? Do you love me more than anything? He says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And then he says, feed my sheep. He asks him a second time. He says, tend my sheep. Third time, feed my lambs. But what's really going on in the Greek is a real exodus for Peter. First time he uses the word agape in Greek. Do you love me with a total self-sacrificial type of love? St. Peter had said, Lord, even if I should have to die for you, I would never deny you. And then he denied him 3 times. Do you love me enough to die for me? Peter couldn't say yes to that question. He says, Lord, you know that I have love for you like a friend. He uses the word philane, 1586 AD. But when he was dying for us, October 13, 64, upside down on a cross in the Circus of Caligula Nero, the last thing he would find solution. When I started drinking, because entrepreneurs see problems and they find solutions to those problems. And so I think the entrepreneurs who have come here from all across the globe for this Jubilee will be able to figure out how productively to spend their time and get a spiritual return from it. St. Peter's Square are turning on their radios, are turning on their televisions at noon here in Rome for that Angelus or that Regina Coeli. So they are feeling it more than most because they've just not.
The Pope also traveled to suburban parishes and met with people in the outskirts of the city. One notable visit was in April of 2018 when Pope Francis visited the parish of St. Paul of the Cross in Corviale, the southwestern area of the capital. After celebrating Mass, he met with children, including a 6-year-old boy named Emanuele, who was grieving his father's death. In an emotional and iconic moment of his papacy, the Pope comforted the young boy.
Vieni da me, Emanuele.
Come to me, Emmanuel. Come to me and whisper it in my ear.
Vieni da me. Vieni. Ecco, va bene.
He has a doubt. He wonders if his father, not being a believer, might not go to heaven. Does God abandon his children when they are good?
Dio abbandona I suoi figli quando sono bravi. Ecco, Emanuele.
That Emmanuel is the answer.
Over the years, Holy Thursday also became a significant moment of Pope Francis's ministry. He often celebrated it with prisoners or migrants, those on society's margins, washing their feet as a humble act of service and love.
Lay organization that defends the church's teachings in the public square.
And why is it so important for you to be here? I know Mary Fiorito will be coming in as well and joining us later to talk about, not later today, but later in the week, to talk about the impact of the papacy and who is chosen.
Well, this is such an important moment because the eyes of the world are going to be on the Catholic Church, on St. Peter's Square, and it's an important opportunity to tell the truth about our faith, about what we believe. And so it's a really exciting opportunity to be here during this very special spiritual moment for the church.
You've gotten to know some of the cardinals just watching them. You were here doing synod coverage. You obviously have a radio show, Conversations with Consequences, if I've got that name right.
Yep.
And in that weekly show, you break down the issues that really affect Americans, but also the global church. Is there someone that you're all watching in particular?
You know, I think if we learned anything from the last conclave, it's that all bets are off. So it's fun to see our cardinals here. I mean, it's exciting. Things are just, in my diocese alone, I mean, we still have the picture of Pope Francis in our church. We still have Cardinal Gregory on the wall. We just got a new cardinal. We haven't even swapped out the photos, and here both of them are in Rome. So, you know, it's exciting for my family, my kids, to see the coverage of them here in Rome. It's fun to see Cardinal Dolan. You know, he's got a great social media profile, so he's sending great dispatch.
church that belongs to a cardinal. You'll see as you stand in front of it, on one side is the coat of arms of the reigning Holy Father, and on the other is another set of coat of arms. Those are the arms of, as you enter into
his relations with all the states. We don't call the head of the diplomatic corps in the Vatican a foreign minister because we're not foreign. In most of the countries with whom we have relations, we're already there with all the Catholics. So we've always called it Secretary for Relations with State.
Hostility.
Back home.
For example, say a parishioner were complaining about something happening with his or her priest or bishop.
States Supreme Court.
They let you speak.
Religious freedom law changes in the United States Supreme Court. What can you tell us about the way that the church plays a significant role in this advocacy for religious freedom?
The church has been the absolute vanguard for religious liberty in the United States and globally. And you have this kind of two-pronged religious liberty issue in the world. You've got, violence against religious minorities around the globe. You have places like, and that was a very beautiful spiritual day. And I know it was so, not just for Catholics.
When you think about the way that Pope Francis was received by the United States, was he received in the same way that he was mourned?
I think people tried to put Pope Francis in America.
Wanting to, in essence,
For him, I think Monsignor,
develop.
You mentioned a great point, Ashley, about what is happening in the United States.
And to say, listen, I blew it. Sorry to the Catholics. Praying with you for the cardinals as they elect the new Holy Father, and it will not be I.
The president carried the Catholic vote last November by a pretty sizable margin, and the outreach that they did in his campaign in 2024 was immensely successful. So he entered into this new term with an immense amount of goodwill. So this, I think, just looking at it from we can decry the bad taste, that it was inappropriate and everything that you said, but just politically, this was a very bad misstep on the part of the White House.
But Matthew, is it just that we can't take a joke?
One of the things about being Catholic is we have a very well-developed sense of humor. The problem is that we also have to be very attuned to the fact of what is mockery and what is disrespect.
Dignity. Monsignor Landry, can you just land on the point of how we understand as Catholics religious freedom and why it's so important to American tradition?
Religious freedom comes from who we are, made in God's image and likeness. God have those three things. Even when we're exercising our freedom, we could be corroding it.
Pilgrimage of LGBTQ identifying Catholics to Newark's Cathedral in 2017, and for a slow response around confronting the abuse crisis. At the other end of the spectrum stands 76-year-old Cardinal Raymond Burke, a traditionalist and past vocal critic of Pope Francis, who has called on the faithful to pray a novena for the future of the Church. Though unlikely to gather enough support to be elected, Burke's influence could shape which direction the conclave leans. In the Curia, 69-year-old Augustinian Cardinal Robert Prevost, the Vatican's bishop-making chief who was born in Chicago and served extensively in Peru, and 77-year-old Cardinal Kevin Farrell, former legionary from Ireland, and the current Camerlengo leading the College of Cardinals in practical matters and now known around the world. Another well-known voice is 75-year-old Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York. Once considered papabile in 2013, Dolan is now viewed more as a statesman rather than a candidate, but his presence could rally moderate voices. 71-year-old Cardinal Robert McElroy, native of San Francisco, is the newly appointed Archbishop of Washington, D.C., and a vocal advocate for women's roles in the Church, but his progressive push may be too radical for many voters. The now retired 77-year-old Cardinal Wilton Gregory made history as the first African-American cardinal. Born in Chicago and the former head of the U.S. Conference of Bishops, though not a contender, he could serve as a swing vote between camps. Two veteran voices will also be in the room. 75-year-old Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, born in Steubenville, Ohio, and the longest-serving American elector, and Cardinal James Harvey, also 75 years old, a longtime Vatican diplomat who served in his home diocese of Milwaukee, but came to the Vatican Diplomatic Corps early in his career. American cardinals now shape key Vatican offices, from the dicastery for bishops to the laity, family, and life. But many in the College of Cardinals remain hesitant to elect a pope from the world's most powerful nation, fearing perceptions of global dominance. Well, it seems that the history of Americans in the regular affairs of the Curia isn't super long, and it definitely Archdiocese
Francis.
Everyone stands in anticipation of the Holy Gospel. Bring some of the only love of which into and life everlasting. For the days, and even the heavenly powers with the angelic hosts. We listen right next to the cathedral, the Basilica of St. Peter.
Well, he did also go into Pope Francis.
And pray before the Salus Populi Romani. That means he did it 126 times. An astounding number over 12 years, but also a statement of the dedication and the love that Pope Francis had for the Blessed Mother. And the word that I was thinking of it now that we're looking back at, gratitude. Pope Francis was always so grateful that she would be there for him when he left.
It brought him into his final resting place. I'm not sure, but we'll check it.
Yeah.
We'll check it, and we'll make sure that we talk to the cardinal afterward, depending on where he ends up, because our EWTN family must know, just a quick reminder,
Much more by the way they're using.
be gathering again here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. We said 7 p.m. Rome time, 1 p.m. Eastern here.
Of the job they
Radio on EWTN Global around the world, of course. We say hello to our friends in special places who are writing.
The phone change out